Good afternoon, guys. On this June 24th, I am at what is for most people the end of the Broad Fork Trailhead at this sort of lake pond thing that I think was actually created by beavers a while ago, although this is a bit of a low point in the ground, so that could be how it was created. But it seems like over the time I've known it, over about 12 years, it's slowly starting to fill in, which I mean is inevitable, but it's interesting to see that at least it feels like it's been happening in my lifetime. It's a little hard to tell though, because depending on what time of year you come up at, the lake could be variously filled. But to talk about some of the plants you can find here, there's a lot of this Veratrum californica. It's known as false Hellebore, a toxic plant of Actaea growing around here, as well as these willows, which I don't think I'll be able to identify. One day I'll figure out what all the different species of willow are. For now I just know a couple. And also a considerable amount of, if we go back here, I'll just go right here to show you a specimen. This is, I'm pretty sure, Betula occidentalis. If it's possibly a species of alnus, please let me know, but almost certainly that's what it is. A very common riparian plant in the mountains here. Probably the most common at this elevation, although it might be a certain species of willow too. I can't really say for sure, so don't quote me on it. Not exactly a riparian species. We also got this Actaea rubra growing over here. That's Baneberry, member of Ranunculaceae. Really cool plant, at least in my opinion. I think it has cool looking leaves, so it almost looks like a member of Apiaceae, but yeah, definitely not Apiaceae flowers, though. It certainly doesn't look like Ranunculaceae flowers either. And it produces these really cool looking red berries that you unfortunately can't eat. They look very tempting, but they would not be good to eat. Now there's a better view of the pond I was talking about. Now right now, as I said, it's fairly full, but you can even see there's some trees starting to grow. Some more shrubs, like certain willows, just growing right in the middle of a lake. And that's not going to be getting less overgrown anytime soon. I mean, there's barely anything right now in the center, like right about that way, but it's no doubt going to continue to get more and more. Were to come up in August, this thing would be a lot more dry, and if I came up in November, I could probably walk across it without getting my feet wet. We're behind the trail on the lake shore. This is a species of Hackelia, or Hackelia, how you want to pronounce it is up to you, but I think this one might be, I don't know, it's hard to tell. You have to look at the little nutlets when they're ripe, and they just quite aren't ready yet, because one of them, the two species you can find here at this elevation, Hackelia micrantha and Hackelia floribunda, have one of them has like little prickles on the nutlets, one of them doesn't. At least intermarginally they do. And one of them tends to produce more stems. So the amount of stems they're producing here makes you want to think it's micrantha. That's when it produces more stems, while floribunda produces less. But it's a little hard to tell because I can't even go down and look at the individual plants. It could be, you'd actually look more closely at it. I think it's actually floribunda in this case. I think I've seen micrantha recently, however. Very boraginaceous flowers, look like the myosotis or forget-me-not. Well, look at this. This Veratrum's getting eaten by aphids pretty heavily, and the ants are loving that too because they just produce the what's it called, the honeydew. These ants, or these aphids, definitely have to be fairly tolerant of the toxic nature of this plant for them to do this. So it's likely somewhat host specific, though to be fair, most aphids are at least somewhat host specific as far as I'm aware. Can't zoom in very well. They look like any other aphids to me, but I'm pretty sure they'd be something special if you would actually ID them and take specimens to a museum. I almost accidentally stopped the clip there. That would have been annoying. Here's, again, not a particularly riparian species. This is Rudbeckia occidentalis, or occidental. They're just starting to come into bloom here, which I thought there were more late bloomers than this, but that's, at least what's unique about them is that they are members of Asteraceae without ray florets. Some people call them the coneflowers, about some other species in Rudbeckia and the related genus Radibita definitely have ray florets and look like your typical sunflower. Whoa. Now the importance of beavers is that they are what's called ecosystem engineers. They build new habitat, and I think it's pretty obvious that what they do is they create dams, and that block streams, which then creates standing water or ponds like this. And that can be very important for increasing biodiversity in certain places because different species rely on ponds as opposed to rivers. So like for instance, mosquito larvae, they need standing water to reproduce and mature, which is not exactly selling beaver ponds if they create more habitat for mosquitoes, but mosquitoes can be important too. I don't think anyone would deny the importance of ponds, even if they happen to be habitat for mosquitoes. Got some more Populus tremuloides, a plant which can do fairly well in riparian areas like this. Though this is clearly upland, but I digress. It creates habitat for lots of other insects, which then feeds birds and feeds other animals. Dragonflies like it a lot, so it's important to have some ponds and beaver dams in your habitat when there's otherwise be a dearth of them. So long at least as beavers would be native to the area, which they definitely are here. And again, I think though there's no evidence of beavers here anymore. I don't see more cut branches. I do think this was perhaps created by beavers at some point. But eventually, beavers' dams do tend to fill in. They are not to be forever. Because they slow down water, the sediment they're carrying settles to the bottom, and slowly the water becomes more shallow, and which creates new habitat for different species of plants. Eventually, some emergent plants can grow, and then once they get shallow enough, like right here, you start to get riparian bushes like willows or cottonwoods growing. I'll eventually have like dry land that'll be quite damp in the summer. That can be good habitat for... Oh, maybe there's still beavers here actually. I take it back. I've never seen any beavers here, to be clear, but yeah, there's no way that was created by something that wasn't a beaver. Unless someone's knocking down trees here. I spoke way too soon. I've not seen very many other cut branches. Oh, there we go again. Go down to the bushes a little bit. Yeah, that's definitely evidence of beaver. They like to cut diagonally, as you can see here, especially on small branches though. Like if you see branches are just cut straight, that doesn't really mean much, but they're cut diagonally. That's definitely a sign that beavers are in the area. And I mean, to be fair, they can be cut straight and still be a sign of beavers. The diagonal cut's really their signature move, however. Man, that's really cool to know that there's still beavers here. Yeah, of course, use the wood to build their their houses. They use the wood to build their houses, their dams, and they also like to eat the branches and leaves in the wintertime, so they store food for the winter. Well, there you go, that's another cut from them. I had no idea there were beavers here still. That's really great to see. But back to the point, eventually you get sort of a wet meadow where riparian species grow, and it might still be quite damp in the summer, but it won't be any more standing water. And eventually a stream will run through it, and it might actually start to erode it again. And then beavers can start to cycle all over. So it's quite an important process. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. I don't know exactly what the succession cycle is for this exact site, but pretty sure aspens are going to be one of the last ones to come in. Again, I'm on the upland habitat right now, so the whole thing I said isn't relevant to here, but I'll be getting back into the riparian space in a second. I have short time to film, so I don't have much chances to make better clips than the ones I have, so I'm very sorry. But I hope this video is still interesting if I ever sees the light of day. I'm just looking everywhere for evidence of beavers. If we can see the outflow soon at least. Where are we at? How did I get into here? So I'm trying to remember. I came this way actually. That is Agastache urticifolia. Remember the family Lamiaceae? Oh, this must be really shaky. I'm so sorry, guys. I have to carry my poles everywhere because I'm trying to get out. Nope, that's not the way I came. But this is sort of the exit to the lake. Oh, I definitely I saw this place earlier, so I'm close to getting out. But either way, views are really great, even though they like to hide from people. Yeah, I wonder where their home is. It must be somewhere in there. But thanks for watching, guys, and see you next time.